Welcome to the How to Raise Money podcast for anyone who wants to raise other people's money for a business or property venture. Right now, there has never been more money on the planet, and there has never been more opportunity. This podcast will help you put the two together. So, if you need money for your business or property proposals from banks, lenders, angels, whales, or dragons, this is the podcast for you.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the How to Raise Money podcast with me, Ray McLennan.
And it's with me, Nigel T-Best. Raymondo, I predict that you are in interesting times. But anyway, how the devil are you?
Well, we do live in interesting times. It's that time of year, isn't it, where we tend to look back on what we've done and look forward to what may appear. And that always fills one with equal amounts of dread, optimism, and dread again. Where angels fear to dread. That should be the title of this particular podcast episode. Yeah. So oh no, good. And you? How has it been over at Nigel Best Towers?
2024, Ray, has been an interesting year. Yeah, it's like anything. YouTube, I'm officially a YouTuber of a scale that is so small that I don't think I even get to the Y of YouTube in the word YouTuber. However, all good in the hood, as it were, in terms of trying to do property. But yeah, other things, a quick reflection, the big deal that I'm doing, I am 15 months into the interest repayments on something that still hasn't got planning permission yet, because everything just takes forever. It is. Do you know, I'm in a group and the topic soon crops up as to, does anyone know a solicitor that can actually do something this side of the next millennia? It is quite frightening how many people are paying enormous amounts of interest and potentially ruining deals because people just do not either turn up at the office, they're working from home, or whatever the hell it is that just means that they don't do things with any speed anymore. It is,
there's no sense of urgency.
Absolutely none, Ray.
Yeah.
But that's my grumble for 2024. However, I mean, I think we should reflect on the momentous political change and upheaval that we've had this year after 14 years of Tory rule that has left us with more black holes than a black hole thing. Even Professor Brian Cox can't believe how many black holes there are in Westminster at the moment. All this nonsense that's happened. But yeah, should we jump into, before you can reflect on your 2024, I'm going to throw this in as my prediction for next year: more lies, more nonsense, more taxes, economic collapse, more unemployment, and more chaos and general misunderstanding. Oh, and I'll also say more sewage going straight into rivers. And all the rest of it, because that seems to be my theme. I reckon that was my theme of 2024.
Where does it go?
Yeah, where does it go? And apparently there isn't a sewer big enough for the amount that comes out of Westminster.
That's true.
But there we go. I just think we're gonna be heading towards more cock and bull. More pivoting, U-turning, lies, change of opinion, and basically more people telling me it's raining whilst doing the proverbial in my pocket.
Yeah.
Well, but anyway, there's me. That's my happy side.
On that positive bombshell. Well, I need to tell you, we did get planning permission granted yesterday and have been waiting a similar amount of time on a particular deal that we have.
Fantastic.
So we got the planning permission. So all we're waiting now is a building warrant, and once we've got the warrant in place, then it should be able to sell. We're not going to develop it out. I think we'll leave that for someone else. We will take the uplift on the planning and take it from there. And yeah, again, it's been challenging, but again, because of delays, and it was all, as you say, legal delays. The interest rates are interesting, let's just put it that way. But we shall come out of it scathed, but with with less profit than we would have because of the time delays. It's as simple as that. It's just ridiculous how much time they do take. Also, we had introduced a heavy hitting investor, a big investor, about 6 weeks ago to a local council. He was looking to develop quite a large number of modular houses in a short space of time, which will really eat into their target. And after 6 weeks, where he promised he had the money, he would do everything, what he needed was an indication that the planning would be granted within a reasonable space of time. And he said 1 year was reasonable. And if he could get that in writing from the council, he would go ahead and literally purchase land and start the ball rolling. After 6 weeks, he's had nothing from the council, nothing. So he wrote to the leader of the council and said, I'm withdrawing my support. And the leader of the council immediately went, oh, no, don't withdraw your support. We want to go ahead with this, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, you've done nothing. I had a meeting with you 6 weeks ago. You promised I would have something imminently. And I've had nothing, literally nothing. I haven't even had an acknowledgement, not even we're working on it, we'll get back to you. Nothing, not a thing. So he's going to put his money elsewhere, but he's not going to, sit around and wait. And that's the thing. You see, that's the difference. The difference between the people that have money that want to get on with things, and the bureaucrats. I think it's in their interests to say nothing, because you can't be found wanting if you've done nothing. Whereas if you do something, it might be the wrong decision. So they make no decision at all. They're all running around like headless chickens. I've got about 3 or 4 emails yesterday saying, can we bring him back on board? And we're very keen. And yes, we'll get this done. And yada, yada, yada. And I've said, well, send him the email. Send in the email that says planning will be done within a year. It's not difficult. And then we found out that one of the planners has an objection to modular houses because she doesn't like them. That's it. Doesn't know anything about them, has never been to we found this out, never been to a modular house factory, has never asked anybody on the team about it, but just has an objection to them, doesn't like them because of the name modular. Now, if you conjure up images of modular housing as it was, in 1946, when everyone was coming back from the war and they were putting up these prefabs and all the rest of it, they were modular houses designed to last a maximum of 20 years. Well, I know that there are these houses, these prefabs that were built after the war in where I'm from, in Edinburgh, in a place called Gilmerton, which is outside Edinburgh. There's still hundreds of them there. Hundreds of them. They're meant to last 20 years. They're still there. There's still people living in them, and they're still absolutely fine. Now, can you sell them and get a mortgage on them? I don't know. I think they just hand them down to their kids and stay in them. But that was then. And if you imagine what's happened in the intervening period, they have moved on massively. I would say to anybody, if you're interested in house building and you get a chance to go to see a modular house, go to the Ideal Home exhibition, you'll see them there. Or go visit a factory where they're made, because they've usually got them on display. They've got a couple of examples on display. Go and see them being made. They are absolutely unbelievable. They're all across Germany and Poland, that sort of thing. The construction is fabulous. Can't remember what it's called, but when you shut the door and close the windows and turn the heating on, you need to put the heating on for an hour and it lasts all day. They're hermetically sealed. They are properties that have, tiles on the roof that are solar panels. They have windows that act as a solar panel. They're unbelievable. And they recycle all the water that lands on the roof gets recycled, and they're self-sufficient, as in they generate their own electricity. They don't need gas. They're fabulous things. And yet this one particular councillor doesn't like them. So that's must have had something to do with them not getting the letter that they should have got. But I predict we'll see more nearsightedness, because it's not far-sighted. We'll see more nearsightedness from councils. You're absolutely right in terms of there will be probably an increase in council tax and a decrease in services. That's what I predict. Now, you don't need a crystal ball or to be Sherlock Holmes to predict something like that, because that's the general direction of travel that things are going in. There will be more unemployment, absolutely, because once Christmas is out the way, the rises in national insurance that they put in are going to start well, they have trickled through already, and people are being let go, or people are not being hired. And then in the UK, we have this divide, whereas if you're in Scotland, you pay more tax than if you're in England, because you have this sort of surcharge that the completely inept Scottish government, we shouldn't even have a Scottish government. It's bloody ridiculous. We don't need that extra layer of bureaucracy. But there is a Scottish government. It gets paid for. They're all got their noses in the trough, and they're all they put up taxes there so that you've got companies now that are relocating to England because it makes sense to do so financially. It's just crazy. It's nuts. But on a positive note, Humza Yousaf, or Humza Useless, as he was called, Scotland's first minister, is retiring from politics. Mexican wave of more than one. Hurrah! He was the well-named useless, because he was utterly useless. I can't think of a bloody thing that he did. But anyway, he's leaving politics. So that's a positive thing for next year. And what else will happen? Well, yeah, you're right. There'll be more lies from the government. There'll be more filibustering and more. I wonder what else is going to come out now. I wonder what else is going to come out, because so far what they've done, well, in terms of how to raise money, which is what we're here to talk about, it's muddying the waters. It's upsetting the landscape. There's too much uncertainty. And when there's uncertainty, it always makes it extremely difficult to try and raise funds. And it seems that companies that have, the proper ESG rules and regulations and are all environmentally friendly and all the rest of it, seem to be attracting more money than standard stuff. But it's the bread and butter house development, house building, renovations that's going to make the difference to the housing market. When anybody's looking to raise money, if it's to develop residential of any kind, that's always a good thing. But there are certain sectors within there that do better than others. But in terms of raising money, it is a tough landscape. There's no denying that. It is tough. But you need, I think, tough times create tough people. And it's the tough people that will win out. So in your development, when you're looking to sell that on with planning, there's going to be fewer developers around, but the ones that are there are going to be more than capable of doing this. They're going to be more than capable of seeing it through and finishing it off. Whether they will make, well, they're not going to make as much profit as they would have done because it's all being clipped away, nipped away. There's too many people taking too much bite out of this particular development sandwich. It's not leaving an awful lot left, and that's putting an awful lot of people off. And on a final positive, well, it's not even a positive note, but I read something that says that self-employed tradesmen in the United Kingdom are 40 times more likely to commit suicide than in any other sector. I mean, that's phenomenal. Why is no one talking about this? I mean, it was a snippet that I stumbled across. I mean, that should be on national TV. It's crazy. If any other profession was like, well, in fact, there are professions that do that. Vets tend to be quite high up that particular ladder, and then there's a lot of attention drawn to that. But had you heard of this, Nigel? 40 times?
Yeah, I mean, Ray, it's one of these incredible things. So I'm in a kind of group that sort of does a lot with what people class as mental health at the moment. But what I'd like to say is I don't think anyone ever commits suicide. I think they are actually murdered by the voice that they hear in their head that suggests that the world would be better off without them. And it's understanding what the real you is and what the voice in your head is that's telling you all this crap. And if you can identify when that's happening, then you can step, away from that, and you can think, right, that's not me. And we call it the script. And it's almost like there's a script handed to you as a kid. It's built on by teachers, religion, governments, people around you, and everything else. And this is how you behave, and this is how you react, and this is what you do, and this is what happens, etc., etc. And it's only when you peel that back and go, actually, hang on a second, that's not me. It's when you identify that and you can almost click your fingers and snap out of it that you realize that, yeah, these things are crazy. And a number of people in that group are people who are in the trades or who've got building, construction, M&E type businesses, people that are working very hard, long hours, under pressure. And the biggest thing on that is, folks, if you are in these circumstances where you're running your own business, you have very few peers to discuss and chat through things. And you find it very difficult because most people in your business tend to be employees. And it's quite hard to have a conversation with them saying, hey, look, I'm feeling pretty crap at the moment. And then when you realize, hang on, that's not me feeling crap. It's the voice in my head that's saying, you're not worthy. You've got imposter syndrome. You're not up to this. You can't handle it. You're going to let all these people down. You're not going to be able to pay your bills. You're going wrong. And all the rest of all those negative things that go around. That is hugely troubling when you are effectively in a silo on your own. And I know farmers fall into this category a lot because you are literally physically isolated often from everyone else, and it's being able to have those conversations. I know there are groups. There was one that I've met the guy who was one of the guys who started it. It's called Andy's Man Club, and they meet up. I think there's meetings all over the country on a Monday evening. And you'll be able to find that Andy's Man Club, and that's well renowned, and that's great. But I think the simplicity of it is to understand what those thoughts, that voice in your head, what it's saying is a load of rubbish, and it's not you. And if anyone wants help in terms of just talking through that, then drop us a line here, hello@htrmoney.co.uk, and we can do that. But in terms of that, Ray, that suicide thing, as I say, I think they're being murdered by the script that they've been given that isn't them. They think it is, but it isn't, and it's been able to separate that off. But just coming back to lighten the mood a bit on that, or very serious, and there's a very simple way that if people need it, I can help show you how to do that. But you look at what's going to happen in 2025, and we talk about all these things, and we moan about banks and currency and fiat currency and money and raising money and borrowings and people being slow and delayed and a work shy population and migration levels coming in. We're not building infrastructure. Now, for me, migration is just a case of, right, okay, if you know the number, you can build the roads back to the sewerage. You can build the sewerage. You can build the water treatment. You can build the hospitals. You can employ the GPs. You can train people up for various things and all the rest of it. If you stick your head in the sand and say migration's great, but we're not doing anything about it, you cause enormous pressures. So I don't understand why we're not doing huge state infrastructure projects and employing people to do it. Maybe it's because we're feeding people. So here's another prediction. The population's going to get fatter, lazier, sicker. We're going to have a bigger bill for paying people to be off work rather than at work. I think people should go back for mental health and all the rest of it, should go back to meeting up and going to work rather than sitting at home in Uggs or whatever the hell people wear and leisure suits and on all that sort of nonsense doing Zooms. It's bollocks, folks. It's bollocks. Get out there. I mean, the trouble is you now can't meet people. When I was first started, Ray, I think it was something like 60% of people married someone they'd met at work. Well, people aren't going to work, so I'm not surprised we've got a birth rate crisis because nobody's meeting anyone. By the time they have met them, they've researched them on TikTok and decided that they're a wrong un. So, the whole thing is collapsing. We need to get back to a bit of a social thing. And this is from someone like me who, quite frankly, my friends couldn't have moved further away from me if they tried, because most are in New Zealand and Australia now. So, I realize I'm the common link in that. But so this is a shout out. I need some friends, please.
Oh, dear.
Hello. And all the rest of it. But no, Ray, this thing, what does this mean? Well, I think you look for signals about which way things are going for the UK. And one of the best ones is look where the money goes. And I don't know if you noticed, Ray, but the FTSE 100, so our stock market, is having its worst year for a long time in terms of people delisting from London and going off to New York and other exchanges. So I think at the moment, this year, 280 billion is moving away or has moved, and that's 14% of the current total value of the FTSE 100. Now, if you've got 1/7 of your stock market moving away from London, that's a signal, right? That's a signal, isn't it? And that's money moving away, and the government can talk all the horseshit they want to talk. What they will find is that money knows where it's going. And if you want to know who's going to be the next England football manager, ask a bookie. You don't speculate and ask punters and sports people and all the rest of it. Ask the bookies, because they are rarely wrong. Oh, and look at this. Flutter, who own Paddy Power, they're going. They're worth 39 billion. And then we're in a housing crisis. We need 1.5 million homes, Ray, and yet we can't get planning permission. But we need 1.5 million. And oh, hang on, 55 billion valuation building materials group, CRH, is delisting and going off. It's like, right, wake up and smell the coffee here, folks. We're making you're talking about Scotland putting people off. All of these things, inflation is, next year, 2025, inflation will keep bumping up and down and all the rest of it. Employment will go, unemployment will rocket, all these things, because we are making it toxic for people to try and do something. Instead, we're creating this sit around at home in your leisure suit, Uggs, and all the rest of it, doing diddly jack, pretending that you're being productive, whilst not creating anything, being a drain on national resources. I mean, is there any wonder that Labour's brought in the euthanasia bill or whatever? Because I think Labour's lining us up for a bit of a Logan's run, and the youth unemployment will be solved as people are fired up into the sky and zapped with some sort of laser in some sort of gladiatorial combat MMA super show or whatever. So there you go. This is how population control is going to be there. And according to the Tinternet, Bill Gates will be pressing the laser button on that, I think. And Nigel Farage will be sitting there sipping champagne from his £100 million investment from Elon Musk, who will be waving at us from Mars. So there we go. I think, we'll look back in a year's time, Ray, and go, my God, Nigel must have had a crystal ball. So there you go. There's my predictions. Hey,
well,
I'll take my tongue out of my cheek.
Let's see where it goes. It's going to be interesting anyway. It always is interesting. We live in interesting times, as I keep saying, and they get more and more interesting as the older you get. But no, there's a lot of cases for optimism as well, which we will talk about once once they've happened. So getting plan permission is great. There's a couple of other things in the pipeline that we're looking at that we will report upon, all to do with raising money in particular ways that certainly a couple of years ago we didn't expect that we would be able to raise money in such a way. But we're testing, we're trying, we're seeking out new avenues. And watch this space.
Strange new worlds and civilizations on our 5-year mission to boldly go.
That's it. And watch this space.
Yeah.
And on that particular bombshell, I have been Ray McLennan.
And I'm still Nigel T. Best. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. For this year and every other year, it will all be good. I've got a mug and it said, everything will be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. There you go, folks. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the How to Raise Money podcast. It's made for people who want to raise money as debt or investment equity for their business or property proposal or empire. The website has all the useful links and underlying research, and you can get downloads of the checklists and other useful information. See you next time, where we can show you how to raise money. There is abundance. There is money enough for everyone on the planet. The question is, who has yours?